I want to talk about Tonda, obviously. I'm assuming, Glenn, that's going to get announced at the weekend, maybe after the game. I can't see any other outcome to this now. I know we said last week, didn't we? There wouldn't be anybody else that would come in and would win the games that they've won. And if you don't appoint him now, what's the alternative? You bring in somebody and then you risk getting that wrong. It's a really strange situation, and I just assume it's just a matter of time, and they're going to wait until after Saturday.
I think, yeah. I mean, I said at the weekend that if they beat Leicester, they'll. I think that'll be the final sort of like part of the audition, if you like, and it will happen. Obviously, nothing has changed since last night to make me think that's not the case. There are certain, T's that got to be crossed and I's that got to be dotted when you bring in a manager from abroad now. I think it's more difficult than bringing in someone to be an under-21s manager in terms of administration and things like that. So that all takes time. It's basically a work permit type thing. So that basically takes time, and so I imagine it will be left. He'll be left as the interim manager until that is all sorted and they're ready to announce it. But I mean, you can never trust Sport Republic, of course, but having we said after the first couple of wins that we beat dodgy sides, and we did. But I mean, Leicester, for all the fact that they weren't very good yesterday, they're one of the main teams in that division. They're one, they're a parachute payment club, same as us, same as Ipswich. They're expected to be.
We said that Charlton was going to be the test as well, didn't we, Steve? And that went all right. So he's kind of earning his stripes as he's going.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Charlton was a huge banana skin just in terms of Nathan Jones' narrative and all that sort of stuff. And to have kind of just completely wiped the floor with that inside 20 minutes or so. Absolutely extraordinary to have kind of put a game that on paper looked really tough. Put that game to bed inside the first quarter of it was absolutely extraordinary. I mean, I was watching it in a pub down in Truro, and it was just it was like, sorry, what are we sure this is live? Is this actual game, or is someone just kind of put somebody playing FIFA on easy mode in front of me?
But was that enough for you then? Is that when you thought he's going to get this? Because obviously you weren't with us at the weekend to chat it through, but would you be happy with the announcement that came when it comes at the weekend?
I think now, having played a variety of teams in different environments, I think I think there's probably not an awful lot of other option for them. Mm-hmm. He's basically got the team playing the way that he wants very quickly. They seem comfortable playing that way. They seem to be enjoying it. Obviously, there is always that caveat of when you give the caretaker guy who's done well the permanent gig, it all falls to bits. And that's always a concern, given obviously Tonda Eckert's complete non-existence of any experience in the manager hot seat.
It's a worry, isn't it? But it's soon forgotten if you're winning 3 or 4-0 every week.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're winning every week, it doesn't matter in the slightest. But there's always that nagging doubt, isn't there? While he's still not got the job officially, that the players are just kind of playing up because they know that someone coming in might just decide, no, you're not for me. Yeah. Whereas obviously these guys, they know that that Eckert likes them and he's picking them, and they're playing a system. They've got the instructions that are enough for them to deal with. As I said earlier, I do find it odd that these days players seem to prefer having that level of detail, especially among sort of attacking creative players. You would have thought that those sort of players would relish the freedom to kind of more or less go and do as they please.
Yeah.
Very sort of Matt Letizia in the 90s type arrangement. And as I said, Cienza's the only one of that entire squad who really stood up and was able to kind of do anything positive out of it. But yeah, I think ultimately Eckert will get the job. I find it basically impossible to believe that that Sport Republic could kind of see what's happened in the last 4 games and then kind of decide on somebody. I mean, given that who else would potentially be in the frame now? Because some of the ones we spoke about weeks ago have now gone into those jobs at Middlesbrough, Swansea, Norwich.
And just in terms of like length of contract and stuff, because that would be the thing I guess they're kind of negotiating, and his representatives are going to be pushing for a decent deal. I'm sure they're going to be a little bit nervous. Do you think there's a scenario where he might get it to the end of the season and then they can see where they are? Or
I think that would be a risk.
That would suit.
In both ways.
You think he might go if it goes well? He might be.
Well, yeah, I think that's a risk both ways, because if he does do well, and let's not forget we're 6 points off second.
Yeah.
Ridiculously, given how this season has felt. It's been a very odd season that Coventry are 10 points clear at the top, and yet we're still that close to the automatic promotion places, despite everything that's happened. But yeah, it's I don't know. It just, I think you would think that with the contract duration, you would think the natural thing would be 2.5 years. So you give him the end of this season plus 2. But I mean, as we know these days, that you sack a manager, you don't pay them the entire duration of the contract up.
See, that was news to me today when I read that was Adam Blackmore was talking about that, wasn't he? I just assumed that this cost us a couple of million quid.
No, every single time. So the reason what happens generally now is that you basically keep the manager on the payroll for a further year, and you basically just pay them their salary for that year, but then if they get a job in the intervening time, then that payment stops. And then they become kind of the financial problem of whoever that manager's then gone and signed for. So it does mean that you're only ever paying up 1 year in compensation, and you're not having to kind of find 2 million quid or whatever down in loose change down the back of the sofa to pay it up in one lump. It's just an ongoing payroll cost. But I think in terms of what we would offer, you wouldn't. I think doing it to the end of the season makes no sense. For that very reason, the most compensation you're going to have to pay up if it goes wrong is a year. But of course, if he's out of contract and he does well, then you likely lose him for nothing. So then you're starting from scratch, potentially as a Premier League club, and all of a sudden your summer task of rebuilding a squad that's good enough to compete at that level becomes that much harder. And it's deja vu all over again.
What are your thoughts, Glenn? We're just talking about like length of contracts and stuff. Do you think there's an option where he gets a deal until the end of the season? Steve's saying that might not work out well for either parties. But I think there was a valid point earlier on. We haven't seen him reacting to a defeat. We've not had a bad run of results, have we? Or a bit of adversity at the moment. So there's still
that's always been the case. You know,
we're on a crest of a wave at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, with the lack of experience that he's got. I mean, as we said the other day, he's had 10 under-21 games and 4 first-team games. That's it. Managerial experience. I think he won 8 out of the 10 under-21 games as well. I think he's only lost 1. So there isn't a lot of experience there. But at some point, you've got to weigh it up and say, but he keeps winning games, and there's no reason why we shouldn't keep winning games with the players that we've got. Obviously, you're not going to win every game. There are going to be bumps in the road. We may well have one on Saturday. It's just the way it works, and we'll have one the second he gets appointed the permanent manager.
Yeah,
that will 100% happen. But it's a tough one. I mean, I freely admit I was totally against appointing him after the first 2 wins. But
we all were.
Yeah,
we all were.
Simply because it's just a massive punt in the dark, and we did that at the start of the season, and it didn't work. But the improvement that he's had and that he's made, the style of football, aside from the results, as I said earlier. And as we said, they can't not appoint him. But I mean, length of contract. I mean, I'd like to think they could negotiate something that was like a year, the rest of this season and next season.
Yeah,
I think that's the sort of thing that would be good for both parties. But I mean, the way we're playing at the moment, we better go on and do it. Otherwise, Man United will come in.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. I mean, the bottom line is he's come in, he's made a hell of a difference. The players that Sport Republic bought in the summer are now all playing. They're all playing well. What's not to like? Certainly in the last two games, everyone's got pride in their team again, and that is huge, isn't it? Nice to have that, I mean, because let's face it, we all hated everybody a few weeks ago, didn't we? Players, manager, sport. Remember that Preston game, the end of that one?
Yeah, where
it's just the atmosphere inside the ground was poison, wasn't it? And now here we are 4 games later with this guy in charge, and everything's great, and we're looking up the league table and we're thinking if we win on Saturday we could well be 5th or 6th or whatever. And then it's starting to get serious, and it's all coincided with Tonda Eckert coming in. So there comes a point where even the cynical old fart like me, who thinks you need to have experience in everything, you think, well, you might as well, because they've got every decision wrong so far. So what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. Although, like you said, equally, it'd be just like them to announce Gary O'Neill on Monday morning. But anything else on the game before we move on? Because we'll have a look ahead to the weekend. Any other observations from Leicester?
Only just something Steve said at the start about the second half. It would have been nice to go out and bury them, but I'll take boring second halves all day long if we've won the game at half time. To be honest, I'm not going to be fussy. 3 points is what it's all about, and if we get a load of entertainment in the first half, especially if it's at my end of the ground, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with that.